she is happy they are sharing the same goal and asks how the other nobles fared. The Marquis says everyone accepted the gift immediately and notes that Duchess Altia rarely makes moves, yet she came personally to speak with selected individuals. She certainly selected the necessary letters and compelled them to undergo a rite of passage through sincere bribery. Although rumors seem to be spreading like wildfire, this is clearly the political current. The Marquis wants to seize this opportunity, while she intends to act decisively now. On the fourth day of the banquet, spoils were somehow added one by one, likely because they were treating Alan well, due to the false rumor that he was involved with Altia Zalonia. He decides to accept for now and plans to grab the goods and run from this situation. Evan arrives to speak with the Count, and he is greatly startled, hearing the story that an outer god has descended in the north and that Caliban is in an uproar. Based on ancient texts, they are speculating that amethysts are related to outer gods. The person our hero is looking for is in the village north of Ashudalan. Our hero says they will have to go to Caliban. Evan asks why he is suddenly planning to go north, and our hero will explain the details along the way. They depart immediately, and he truly didn't expect everything to escalate so much. It would be calamitous how the 5 cardinal sins and the outer gods are connected. It wouldn't be possible to know which outer god would descend and went through a divine descent. That's why he has to gather more information and act as quickly as he can. He didn't expect things to happen so fast, and hundreds of possibilities arose while he was playing. The ending naturally unfolds, and the allied kingdoms will crumble and collapse. They will fall into ruin, fighting foolish wars in a land tainted by otherworldly power. Then, his life will be destroyed in an instant. He will devise a plan to deal with this. However, after a god's descent, there will be a stabilization period of several months. Until he finally awakens as a living god, he will wield his power as heroic spirits during that period, and targeting them will be the best option. He can't guarantee anything, but he will try it anyway. He writes a letter and signs it with his seal, wondering what that boy would like. A week later, the commander receives the letter. In it, the vice commander states that the next northern schedule is being postponed by 2 weeks. In Pakram, a village north of the Ashudalan kingdom, the protagonist didn't expect to easily find what he was looking for. Seeing that the protagonist and playable character of Psychedelia is very distinctive. Seeing that a protagonist is a protagonist, as he looks exactly like the illustration. Our hero asks if he is a boy, and he introduces himself as Elibon. No matter how much this world differs from the game, the protagonist is the protagonist. Eventually he will become famous and strong, and our hero says he has a brilliant personality. He hands a bag of gold coins to the boy. Then, Evan also shows several mana potions, and loads him with gifts, suddenly handing all of this to the boy. It's an investment for a protagonist's early growth. He tells the boy that he will become a very important person in the future, and that he should hurry and grow to deal with worse things. Our hero forgot to introduce himself and says his name is Alan, Count of Palacio. He thanks him profusely, and will remember our hero's name and good deed. Our protagonist didn't remember Aliban's personality being so brilliant. Since the fantasy genre is dark, he didn't think he would be such an optimistic boy. Evan questions if it's alright to leave without having a proper conversation. Since the protagonist's life is at stake, he doesn't have time to build rapport. He put the protagonist on auto hunt. Evan says this boy seems to have incredible talent, as his manner is dense and swirling. Despite his common clothes, it seemed he was wearing artifacts. Our hero felt his energy, as this is a common state before an adventure. It could be an unexpected butterfly effect that is differing from the game, especially since he is the protagonist, and in any case he just needs to preserve his easy life plan. Elibon is one of the few kind-hearted people in the miserable world of dark fantasy. He doesn't worry, and asks Evan about God, asking if Sin will find him soon. He never visited the orphanage because he was afraid, but now he wants to find the Sins. 10 days later, in Caliban's capital, Sir Dan. In front of Sir Dan's north gate, our hero Evan arrives, both worn out from a long journey. If it weren't for the labyrinthine journey, he could hold his head high. They travel from place to place to prepare for the war against the outer gods, and the gifts make them question if God will be satisfied. Their turn for the capital's inspection was almost here, which would conclude with an identity check. Still, our hero found it a relief that things moved quickly there. However, a small problem arose for the Count to deal with. They were being told to step aside, and they asked why. His identity was verified, and they asked if he was truly Count Palacio. Varen is the direct disciple of Master Knight Fiola, the fourth sword. He arrives to speak with our hero, who asks if he brought knights and what the meaning of this was. He asks why our hero brought knights with him. The answer is that a friend in the kingdom of Asteria sent word that he was in debt. Our hero asks if it's Carmine, and the knight says that he deeply offended his friend, stating that he humiliated him beyond measure. Carmine then asked this knight to go to Caliban and cripple him. Carmine said that if he wanted to improve his skills, he would need more abyssal bodies, and he owed his friend, so he wanted to put on a show for him. Our hero notices that Carmine picked a fight on his own and then fled. He tells Alan that if he hands over everything inside the carriage, he will spare his life. Since this was the favor requested, he says he has nothing to lose. Our hero notices that he is just a minor noble from the kingdom of Asteria, with little influence in the Union, having no ties to Caliban. Even if things go a little wrong, his master will resolve it, until, as he lunges at Count Palacio, he is seized by the neck. We see Evan holding him from behind, asking how he dared to touch his benefactor. The crucial truth is that Viren failed to understand that the Count had triumphed in a duel against Kurg of the Snowfields. Kurg had earned the epithet, swordless. Holding Viren's head, preventing him from attacking Alan, was the Master Knight, God Mykalian, his benefactor. He, God, appears, saying that if either of them moves, he will make them suffer. Our hero notices that the knight is God, who is grateful to be in a situation where he cannot eliminate Viren. Then he starts pummeling the man, and Evan says he does it very well. God is irritated that they tried to touch his benefactor. When young, he might have been grateful, but now that he has grown, he realizes he doesn't welcome someone he barely knows well. It was clear that after being sponsored, he had grown remarkably well. He had matured into an exceptionally upright young man. He will present himself this way because his favorite father was a weighty figure in a foreign land, or because his son is unbearably sweet. However, he finds this a bit excessive on Deus Mykalian's part, and it so happened that Deus was one of the 5 great sins at this time. He looked at our protagonist and chose him. Delman, Caliburn's third sword and captain of the Crimson Flame Knight Order, raises a banner. He declares to Culkin the Great, one of the 8 chiefs, that his clan has been annihilated. As this was a victory for the Crimson Flame Knight Order, he decides to return to the advanced maintenance base. Having secured achievements of such magnitude, he will not be outdone now that he has just become a Master Knight, even if he used cunning means unknown to anyone. Caliburn and the barbarians have long maintained wars that respect honor. However, he deceived Culkin, and ensured he went out alone with an infiltration force. Thus, with this momentum, he successfully annihilated the entire clan, deceiving one of the 8 chiefs. Wondering why the bastard finished off Kurg of the Snowfield, since he needed a clear result from the expedition. Culkin's corpse disappeared during the battle, likely hidden by the barbarian. Even if he was still alive, he should have already died due to the poison. In any case, everything will be done once he returns to Caliburn and reports this achievement. However, he realizes the advanced base is taken by Delman. He immediately attacked when he saw Delman's aura, knowing that Culkin should also have died, yet stands. He says that he profaned a great and sacred jewel staked on honor and terror. This one devours a superhuman capable of cutting down hundreds of lives with a single sword stroke. He says it is not Culkin standing there, feeling an evil aura, and hearing a voice from beyond. This voice commands him to answer, asking if it isn't his fault for trusting the word jewel on the battlefield. The mysterious voice says he has risen to a human caliber, and this is his last chance. Thus, Culkin calls him to a final honorable duel. All the knights prepare their swords, igniting them. He raises his fingers and says he is the dishonorable mortal, and will not grant a barbarism of an honorable death. Culkin begins to feel immense pain and starts to rot as he raises his fingers. He then begins to eliminate them one by one using only his hands, no sword, delivering incredibly powerful attacks that make people explode. He places his hand on the knight and begins to inflict severe pain. Culkin says that all the savages of this place made from those eliminated who were denied death, and he welcomes them to the bloody Colosseum. Introducing himself as the god of all barbarians, Volturos, the father of duels, only wishing to grant an honorable end to all of them, asking them to prove they are not savages through this duel. Meanwhile, Deus Mykalian wants to guide our protagonist and Evan to some location. They notice he is bowing his head even without a sword. In caliber, Deus Mykalian's aspirations without a sword are as high as the heavens. He received no punishment for beating the second prince who had harassed his sister. He would never be polite to anyone but the king, so it was shocking for him to bow to a count from a foreign nation. For the swordless to bow his head, everyone notices that Count Pallet is very important. He asks them to get into a very flashy carriage. Evan asks Alan to go while he will follow him with the more ordinary carriage. He notices that Deus is living in a huge mansion and has staff and luxurious things. As the best way to show his respect and consideration, he wants to get straight to the point, stating that the reason he is there is to make a request to Deus. When Mykalian hears this, knowing it's not an order but a request, he becomes very happy. He finds it strange and asks him to continue the conversation after they sit down. He notices that the host should be the one who sits in the highest seat. Noticing that he is treated just like his father in a count's position, he says he has a request and is aware of the burden Deus carries. He asks McCallher to accompany him to the north, and the boy accepts without hesitation. He says he was about to leave on an expedition to the north, which is why he accepted his benefactor's request so quickly. And the most difficult part is that he wants to borrow the madman's ring from Caliburn's treasury. Meanwhile, we see someone speaking with the vice commander after returning from a mission. On the escort mission, someone was visiting the brother of a little girl named Miss C. Lai, and Deus asked to inform everyone that they would postpone the northern trip for the next 2 weeks. After all, his benefactor would visit him soon, and he knew this because of the letter. Count Pallas of the Kingdom of Asteria arrives, surprising C. Lai. Returning to the present, he asks for the Ring of Radiance from the Kingdom of Caliburn, knowing it was a senseless request, one that would put him in debt to the royal family. However, this ring was indispensable for the success of his plan. Just as Deus is about to accept the request, Evan appears, interrupting. Seeing the heavy atmosphere, he decides to present Deus McCallion with gifts, asking Evan to bring everything, starting to fill the boys' room with presents. He created a harmonious atmosphere, carefully choosing gifts to please Deus. He decides to open the gifts only when he is alone, as he thinks it would be rude to do so in front of the master, noticing that the boy treats him with great respect, as he didn't let anyone harm him. He politely reiterates the request for the ring, and Deus says he will bring the item right away. He says it's in the treasury of the Kingdom of Caliburn, and it will take a week to retrieve that ring. Even if the king is annoying, he will eliminate about 50 people and get it. Deus asks if they can go now, and is completely serious about eliminating those people. He decides to recover as quickly as possible, and finds Deus' attitude very exaggerated. McCallion's sister appears, and Evan recognizes Sylve. The two are friends, and are happy to see each other. In the game, our hero saw the death scene of Deus' younger sister, but now that he knows her personally, he notices she is a copy of the boy. However, Deus tries to protect his sister, saying that he is not her friend. He knew Deus was broken after losing his family, but he didn't imagine he was so attached. We see McCallion very irritated with Evan, telling him not to approach his sister, noticing that if Deus is being so respectful to him, it might be because he saved Sylve. Therefore, he is willing to do anything for our protagonist. Sylve goes to speak with Prince Pallas, and Evan says he ordered her to be saved, and her brother would become a killing machine if she were to die, which is why he did what he did. They sincerely thank our protagonist, who wouldn't help them out of the goodness of his heart, yet it's still good to receive thanks. His stay at McCallion's house began, and he received the ring. The very next day, he asks how he managed to bring the item so quickly. Evan heard strange news, as Deus made a scene at the palace to have the artifact delivered. When the second prince refused, he slapped him across the face. After 3 days of being introduced, he joined an expedition to the north with the knights. 2 weeks later, exaggerated reports arrived from the outpost border in northern Caliber. They spoke of the casualties, of the arrival of the outer god. The plan is to retreat and yield to the barbarians, but some try to remain inflexible about this plan. One argued that the soldiers were too wounded, and without the kingdom's first blade, they wouldn't stand a chance against the barbarians, until someone clapped their hands to silence everyone. Fiola, Calibur's fourth blade, is the commander of the Order of Perseverance. She wants to reconsider the plan, as the outer gods are sowing chaos at the outpost. In eastern flank, Delman, Calibur's third blade, met his end. To the east, Kiriana, Calibur's second blade, is severely wounded. McCallion says these visions of horror are drawing near them. They are seeing an aura corrupted by malevolent manner approaching, a manner so chilling that only those who have awakened can perceive it, an aura so sinister it makes them consider retreating. They see a hero using his magic to fry sweet potatoes. They begin discussing barbarian rituals and believe humans must be saved. Deus believes this is the Order of the Silver Shadow, Kiriana, the second blade. The vice master of the magic tower, the blue-haired girl from the tower, asks them to observe developments. When he goes to send our hero away, she is speechless, as she hadn't realized it was him. She wonders how he is there, and our hero tells the vice commander that the rumors are apparently real, and the medicine she mentioned is out of stock, so the girl will prepare it later, as she is very busy. Our hero was truly hoping she could help, and she becomes embarrassed about it. Finances are tight, so Alan's payment will be delayed. The girl said a single coin would be enough, and he doesn't want to refuse her generosity. The vice commander begins to smile, and the magic tower subordinates are shocked. She was tricked out of hundreds of gold coins and must have lost her mind. so she will pre-prepare the mixture immediately and serve it silently. The Blue Magic Tower servants notice that she greatly respects Count Alan Palace. Inside the tent, he feels a very strong, malevolent energy. Deus Mechalia warns that they are under attack right now, ordering everyone to fight back, but they begin to be massacred, until the girl uses the malignant shard technique, creating an ice mesh that clings to the monsters' bodies and then explodes them. Deus Mechalia looks to the horizon and finds the greater enemy, facing the despair that only an overwhelming force can cause. The incarnated outer god commands them not to profane the sins of those who have lost their honor. He takes a sword blow to the chest, yet doesn't even flinch. The swift blade has no effect on him and doesn't even pierce his chest. Then he counterattacks and eliminates the person who tried to pierce him, saying they won't be entitled to an honorable elimination. Fiola was eliminated in a matter of seconds, leaving everyone in shock. Then a person approaches Uterus, the great god of jewels, and says that according to the Oath of Calgulia, Alan Palladio presents himself to honor the sacred promise and request a Babylonian jewel against him. Uterus notes that someone knows the oath, which is very unexpected. Even so, he doesn't stop attacking and eliminating other knights. He creates a bloody Colosseum, welcomes the noble, and says that no one will interfere with the jewel. According to the Great Pact, Uterus accepts the sacred Babylonian jewel. Our hero realizes he has a terrifying presence and was wrong about him. He thought Uterus was far from manifesting. The closer an outer god gets to incarnating, the more power they gain, rivaling the cardinal sins. If he hadn't drunk the potion of excellence, he would have fainted, this being his last chance before the manifestation is complete. That's why he wanted to start the Babylonian duel now, which is played in turns. The first rule is that the challenged person has the initiative. Uterus slams into him with an incredibly powerful blow, wondering why his opponent stands still after seeing such a massive strike coming his way. The second rule is that the defender cannot move out of turn, and if hit by an attack, they won't be able to move at all. Uterus notices that he is truly honorable and knows the rules by not attempting to dodge. The third rule states that the attack and defense turns only allow opponents to swap positions at the end of the next turn, and now it's the defender's turn who is our protagonist. A basic defense would be useless against such terrifying power, so he uses immobilization, condensation, reinforcement, and deepening. Even if he has to use all his magic to block a single attack, he will. Uterus' attack is overwhelming, erupting with an abyssal amount of mana. When the smoke from the explosion clears, they see that Alan survived. He used the artifact he asked God for, and a potion of excellence. The Remithian potion allows for the deepest pain to be alleviated. Our hero used it now, and if he hadn't, he wouldn't be standing. Everything went according to his plan, using the artifacts he requested from you, Commander. And God, he can't recover everything at once, but he will be able to move because he used a supreme potion, fulfilling the conditions to enter a state of frenzy. He then uses Binding Invocation, and it's time for his attack. The fight against the boss Uterus is turn-based, with different rules. It is recommended to play after learning the rules of the duel. In the game, the outer god's actions were limited by the rules, which is why he dragged him into a duel. That's why Uterus accepted the sacred Babylonian duel. With the pendant of reincarnation and the healing potion, he survived after the first blow. Immediately after, our hero invoked his restriction. He discovers that the activation condition for the Madman's Ring is to have 1 foot in the grave. When he goes to death, the restriction is completed, and the ring is activated. Since he considers duel sacred, he will neither defend nor interrupt. In the game, he would receive the first attack, and the enhancement would remove some of the time limit. But since there is no time limit, he will attack without worrying about it. With the first restriction, when he uses magic, extreme cold occurs, twisting the laws of the world, and then he uses diffraction in sequence. The second restriction, by using magic in a near-death state, he twists the laws of the world again, increasing his rays, utilizing focus and condensation. Finally, he will annihilate using magic against a god, and twisting the laws of the world again. He acquires the front line of silence magic. Finally, the fourth restriction is that when it is used against Uterus, the great god of jewels, it twists the world again. The annihilating rays slammed into the outer god, erupting into a massive blinding explosion. He hopes it will be a success, and eliminate the god with the first blow. However, outer gods do not disappear when they lose a part of their body. He was left with a gaping hole in his chest, his very heart torn away. He states that our hero is very strong, and the final blow failed. Our hero drained all the mana he had accumulated, and could not eliminate the god, who says he was carrying the will and possesses the class. Our hero notices an infernal fire surging around Uterus. He says it was an excellent jewel and suddenly begins to disappear. He says it is worth keeping an eye on the black and the blue. Assuming he lost the jewel, he will leave a gift along with authority, stating that he remembers the hand signs and the mysteries of the great forgotten god, and will carry his will. When the usurpers break free from their bonds to crawl out, he must call Uterus' name, and not the epithet bathed in faucet, but his true name. The wicked is the name he must claim, and at that moment the outer god disappears. The expedition becomes busy, gathering the corpses, preparing to return to Caliber. The vice commander of the magic tower notes that the count is from the second circle of magic. He is there, saying he is from the third circle, and asks about the term black and blue that the god mentioned. She begins to deny it, saying she does not know what it is, and becomes extremely afraid to speak with Alan. She runs off, and he thinks that receiving thanks makes him feel like a cruel villain at that moment. He questions why the outer god disappeared after his failed attack, noticing the belt in the carriage that he had seen in the game. It is the belt of the Forgotten, obtained by defeating Taurus, which amplifies attack damage twofold. It is the first time he sees a phrase inside the belt, and he will discover something when he arrives in Kahara. Dea says the mage dared not bid him a proper farewell before leaving and asks if he should eliminate her. Our hero notices that Deus Macallion is becoming increasingly reckless. 2 weeks after this event, they go to Curitan, the capital of Caliber. With Deus reporting the result of the subjugation to the king, the northern expedition ends. They bid farewell, and our hero receives many gifts from the king of Caliber. He invested all his money to save his life and is happy about it. Deus asks if he can become as strong as Count Alla, and he finds it strange, as Macallion is the youngest to become a Master Knight. Even before the gods merge with sins and descend, children's unique abilities are extremely powerful. Deus is very talented with the sword and, in a short time, will become as strong as he wishes. Therefore, our hero replies to him that he will achieve it with enough effort. But in truth, he knows the boy has a blessed talent he also wished he had. Finally, Macallion asks why he is asking for favors instead of giving orders this time. Our hero says that no one in the world gives orders to their own family. When God Macallion hears that he is part of Count Alla's family, he is speechless. Now our hero wonders if he has discovered some hidden motive behind his patronage. After all, the reason he sponsored him with his precious money was out of pure goodwill. He understands why people say being a father is a thankless job. He followed him to return the kindness, but ended up receiving even more than that. God Macallan tries to break the silence with his fingers, telling himself he wished he had Count Allen's magic talent. He keeps thinking about the fact that our hero called him family. Finally, our hero arrives at his mansion after 3 months to find a pile of papers for him to deal with. He pretends it is not his room, and then starts to feel overwhelmed by all the work. After that, he took a week off because he was very tired and wanted a peaceful life. During his week-long vacation, he became stressed, even though he wasn't working. He kept thinking about the plagues that attacked the Sins, the Blue Thing, and the God of Chaos, wanting to resolve the issues tourists left behind regarding the mysterious ritual gestures. God of Chaos is the name tourists left forgotten, just like the Eastern gods, and it was the first time he had seen someone evaporate like that. He wonders why he disappeared if he didn't win the duel, and he fears other gods might emerge. It is less problematic than the 5 cardinal sins, as the gods grant life prematurely. He really wants to visit Carrara, but he doesn't know where it is. He wrote down things about the RPG game so he wouldn't forget. The city has not been discovered by explorers, and he fears complicating things if he goes there. Evan notices it is very cold because of his magic. Our hero is improving after doing research during his vacation. Evan also tells him that a hidden city has been discovered in Colony. Meanwhile, the Sins held a semi-annual blue moon meeting via a crystal ball that lasted 10 minutes. The cat-eared girl heard that the great moon visited Caliber. God usually remained silent. However, he decided to share his experience with his siblings. The story begins with him recounting the duel against Trurus, and it takes him 50 minutes to tell the whole story. Reaching the most important part, he said that the only person who could predict the final blow was the Great Moon, stating that it was incredible to see the Great Moon fight and prepare its attack. UCHA knows that the Great Moon is on another level of magic and combat. 2 hours later, God Macallion finishes telling the story. The meeting lasted over 3 hours, an absolute record because of the boy. Suddenly, Count Allen enters his room with many gifts. Evan says they are artifacts from the deep floors of the labyrinth, which could be used to complete a quest. However, he doesn't know any of the nobles who sent these to him. The letters are impressive, and they know all of this was due to a single contact. One thing anyone working for a small company quickly learns is that they must accept what is offered to them. Then, a week passes, and he receives another gift, and they just keep coming. He finds it incredible what he can achieve just by knowing a master knight and God is a great son. He will overlook the fact that he never contacted him before this, given the quantity of gifts. A month later, he is still receiving gifts, and they just keep coming. This makes him consider sending them back, as they are simply too excessive. At the beginning of summer, as the gifts became rarer, we see a scene in the capital of the Kingdom of Asteria. At the Grand Assembly, our hero attended and arrived late for the first time. They walk very quickly, as our hero is embarrassed by his lateness. Suddenly, all the nobles begin to follow Count Alan, and he realizes he is not late. The royalists are on the left, and the aristocrats on the right at the Grand Assembly. He sits in the back, and everyone starts to follow him and stare deeply. All eyes turn to our protagonist, Alan. They waited for him to enter, as no one wanted to sit in the front row, wondering what the point was of sitting near the faction leaders. When they begin, they announce that the new faction, Kalpa, has received voting rights, and it is said that Count Palacio is the president of Kalpa. My hero is apparently the only one who doesn't know about this. Looking at the two women, he remembers the alliance between Zenonia and Altia and the founded faction. The faction's name is Kalpa, and they made him president. He is the president of the new evil faction, and this was something he hadn't planned. Everyone wonders how far our protagonist will go upon seeing the destroyed battlefield. While he considers his response as a representative at the General Assembly, but he doesn't want to suddenly become the evil leader of a faction. Seeing that he has nothing to say, they continue, and he is congratulated on the founding of the Kal faction. He is the protagonist of the night, and they begin to celebrate greatly because of it. The two from the Alliance ask if he is enjoying the night. Duchess Altia and Countess Zenonia are the women he spoke with a few years ago, and he didn't expect this butterfly effect. They are happy to return the favor he did by saving their lives. According to the information he gathered by talking to the two, after he ordered an alliance between them, the Kal faction was born through instructions sent to Zenonia. By sending gifts to him, the leader, they were accepted into it. However, he swears he never told any of them to do everything they are doing. He wondered why some letters didn't make sense, until he understood it was a misunderstanding. And from his experience, people who act in the shadows have a peculiar perception. Altia doesn't consider it a misunderstanding. After all, he gave a lot of gifts, and he is afraid of how they will react because their personalities in the game are horrible. He will stay in the position for a while and then retire. After all, he has already received too many gifts. He knows nothing about politics and doesn't know what to start doing. However, he said he would start by cleaning up the underworld and withdraws from the conversation, deciding to get out before they ask questions he couldn't answer, and he would be embarrassed. Our hero asks Evan if he sent the letter, and he replies yes. Our protagonist tells them to go straight to Colonia and not look back. As part of Zenonia's plan, they manage to scare our hero away. He has already taken control of the underworld and his area a long time ago. Their idea is to unify the underworld, and they are eager to do so. They also want to see what Alan Palladio will do next, and they are plotting something serious, until a man with an eye patch and a dagger in his hand finds our protagonist's carriage. He thinks it would be easy to eliminate Alan, but God Michaelian would intervene. Even his leader warned against making overwhelming enemies despite the high reward. However, he believes his master would understand if he heard about the mission to eliminate Alan. In the south of the Ashutalon Kingdom, at Duke Camelan's mansion, the assassin arrives with someone who knows him well. The assassin says he has a connection to the Seeker. These are the Agents, an organization of assassins from the Federation Kingdom with master-level sword skills. Rats are not allowed during the mission, and they quickly dispatch the henchman. Camelan says he is as strong as I expected, and asks him to eliminate Count Palladio. He will not refuse this request. After all, it comes from a man known as the Tyrant of Ashutalon. If he completes the mission correctly, he will receive rewards. The assassin is not sure if Lord Carmine will cover the cost. After all, he requested 4 of the magic cubes he held, which are abyss entities, not unlike orbs. Abyss entities are items that Duke Camelan distributes in small quantities on the black market. Unlike abyss orbs, which only enhance physical abilities, these entities grant special powers. It is traded at extremely high prices, and the assassin believes he would become incredibly powerful using it, which is one of the reasons agents become the best, and he accepts the mission upon seeing this. Carmine says Alan will not live in peace after disrespecting him in that manner, so the assassin goes to Duke Camelan, the leader of the Ashutalon Kingdom's nobles, and a major underworld force in the Federation Kingdom, asking the Seeker if it is all right to do this. Even though with the high reward, The leader said not to oppose the House of Cal in any way. Duke Camelan turns a blind eye and lets the assassin do as he pleases. Then he asks if he would like him to send his regards to the leader, and he says he can. The seeker asks the man if he cannot exert any influence in the kingdom of Asteria. He replies that the Cal faction, with Count Palacio as its leader, is growing too powerful. This person is Chutro, an underworld power in the Ashutalon kingdom. Camelan says it has been inconvenient for him to act personally, thanks to this Cal faction. So the assassin goes to our hero's carriage with the abyss entity he is to acquire, saying he holds no resentment towards Count Palacio. He is only doing this for the relic. When he moves to strike, his arm is ripped from his body, and then a massive blow from above slams down on him. One of the Sin girls attacks him, declaring he will no longer be able to move. She raises a finger and utterly obliterates his body, bringing an end to this assassin who tried to eliminate the Great Moon, stating he would not have been eliminated by her if the target hadn't been Count Palacio. During the journey, they begin to feel intense heat, and 5 days pass. Evan asks if he doesn't want to practice his magic, but he cannot, as one mistake could turn into a catastrophe. In any case, joining the caravan was a good idea for the protagonist. After all, they are unfamiliar with the desert and are traveling alongside Lionagullas. She is the daughter of the Red Magic Tower Master and a rank 4 mage. Our hero argues with her a bit and wishes for a moment of peace. Evan asks if he saw the pile of ice crystals hanging from her carriage. He knows the Red Magic Tower Master is a maniac, and it's best to stay away from his daughter. Meanwhile, an ambush occurs, and ninjas begin to cut down people with bladed weapons. One of them takes the red-haired woman hostage and tells everyone to listen to his proposal. He orders them to cooperate in silence or the worst will happen. They recognize the symbol of the Bloody Sand bandits who are trying to capture Liam. They said the Tower Master's daughter was there, and he managed to find her. Because of her trauma, Leon can't breathe and tries to ask his name. Suddenly, she starts to feel cold and regains her breath. Then, Count Palacio appears, using the magical technique of the Snowlands. The Tower Master's daughter faced provocations because of her position and developed trauma. That's why, even as a rank 4 mage, she is very sensitive to energy. She thinks he barely has enough mana to reach rank 2, and must believe that Alan has an important role in the battle against the Outer God. Even knowing he is the benefactor of the Night Master God, Michael Iron, she thinks he is weak. She couldn't help but feel contempt for Count Alan the moment she saw him. However, she notices that he uses combined enchantments and linked 3 elements. The success rate of combined enchantments requires connecting several chants with unique and distinct structures, dropping drastically with each added chant. Yet he succeeded, something that should require at least a rank 5 to master this technique. When the bloody bandit lunges at the protagonist, he uses the freezing tactic. After freezing the man's body, he then uses the demolition technique. The bandits scatter the moment their leader is eliminated. Therefore, as soon as their leader is eliminated, he orders everyone to flee. The bandits run off, and Lion realizes that the rumors about Alan were real. He is soon presented with wine and food, and everything goes well. It seems that reducing the restriction penalties was a great idea. The Snowland spell he created during his vacation uses space, ice, and maintenance simultaneously. He transforms the surroundings into a polar zone, but magic used in snowy terrain, near death, or against a god, reduces magical power. Also, when magic is used against the great god of outer jewels, magical power is reduced. This allows him to limit the lifelong penalties he will have to bear to just 3. Still, combining 3 enchantments just to last a meager minute is not efficient. In any case, the combined enchantments with Snowlands worked well. With the belt, his power increased, and he resolved the penalty issues. Lion apologizes to our hero kneeling before him, saying she would like to discuss magic with him. He accepts the apology, even though he had been willing to argue with her earlier. The conversation continued all the way to Colony, and was very interesting. Even though he uses enchantments to bend the rules of magic, he learned things from her. They arrive in Colony, and she invites him to go to the conference. Our hero replies that he is not affiliated with any tower, and is not invited. She offers for him to join the Red Magic Tower, as she greatly enjoyed their conversation. He ends up accepting, and they will meet at the conference in Colony. Evan says he has already taken care of the luggage, and mentions the meeting point. Suddenly, people are slammed against a wall behind them. Lightning and magic also erupt, until he notices the presence of one of the 5 great sins. She embraces our hero, and calls him Godfather. Sealrang is happy to find him, and says the place is full of bandits. However, she says she will take care of these scoundrels to protect our hero. She is one of Colony's 4 Baba Yagas, Sealrang, the Golden Lightning. She was looking forward to the protagonist's arrival after his letter. People wonder who this man is, being treated so kindly by the Golden Lightning. Seal introduces her guild, comprised of people of her race. When they enter the castle, everyone greets the chief. Ralga tells her chief that nothing happened during her absence. He also welcomes Seal's guest of honor. She says she manages the staff, as they are family to her. Seal Rang says that he and Yusha come right after that, as they are not blood relatives. She says they barely talk, and yet he is in third place, which surprises the protagonist. He thinks about how to bring up the topic, and Evan gives a lot of presents to sell. She gets very excited and decides to help our hero, even though they are not family because he is her benefactor. She agrees to help, being able to gather her race because of him. At that moment, she notices something matching the description of the Golden Manhwa tribe's essence. Everyone is willing to help them without hesitation, and he is being great at creating villains. She picks him up to let him rest after the long journey. She asks about the outbound journey, knowing it's bothersome due to the sand, and Evan says the return trip also worries him, due to the heat and the ambushes they faced. Alan tells about the attack by the Bloody Sand bandits that happens to merchants. When the firm doesn't want to encounter them again, Seal Rang seems to be planning something to help her benefactor, at the hideout of the massive criminal organization of the Bloody Sand bandits. She goes there, using her gauntlet and slaughtering many of these bandits for bothering her chief, unleashing her lightning, and delivering devastating blows that easily obliterate them until she encounters Kalman's younger brother, who is the leader. He says he is under the protection of the strongest Baba Yaga, and they shouldn't pick a fight. The fact that he messed with her benefactor first, and she doesn't want to get into trouble, causes her to utterly annihilate him. She unleashes a massive explosion and extinguishes the life of Kalman's younger brother. Our hero wakes up the next morning and discovers that all the Bloody Sand bandits have been eliminated. She says they won't cause any more problems and did all this to be praised by him. The bandits have hundreds of night-level fighters, and he is impressed by her Baba Yaga title and strength, realizing that she was destined to become the Sin of Pride, who is extremely powerful. They go to the Colosseum, a popular attraction and colony, steeped in the vital fluids and madness of gladiators. One of colony's only 4 Baba Yagas and the gladiator who held that position for a long time have a fight. This match is a victory for Kalman. He talks to a man who can't believe they thought they could defeat a Baba Yaga with hundreds of people. Helga says that the Bloody Sand bandits were annihilated by Seal Rang. He knows this and that his brother was involved. Not really. It's a rumor he spread to keep him close and control him. Kalman will follow through, as it would be impossible to execute this plan amidst a legitimate match between Baba Yagas. He is bothered by Alan, who is causing trouble in colony. He will use this excuse for the public to accept Sermon's death and the revenge to eliminate Alan Palladio. The fact that Ralga came to him means he is also ready to help. He hands over a gift from their father, the Seeker, saying that the boy will gain power using the orbs and spheres of the underworld. They will devour colony's underworld and aim for the throne after using these relics. They will conduct an experiment to see how long he can endure using this. 2 days later, they are protected and guided by the guild and head to the ancient city of Carrara. They reach the ruins and split up. Our hero and Evan take a dark path using a lantern. In the ancient city of Carrara, they see enormous structures. A voice from beyond calls the mage, who hears its words clearly, telling him to come in its direction. Our hero will ascend alone. Evan waits while our hero enters this area. The voice says that because he can hear it, he meets the minimum requirements. Our hero almost calls this shadow uterus, but corrects himself, approaching it and calling it the perverse, which is its true name. The perverse says it's worth taking a risk with him, but he doesn't have the proper class and it can't do anything. It says that this class is the standard by which the world judges a person. An outer god will descend soon, so he will have to deal with that. Afterwards, he will have to fulfill the conditions to continue their conversation. Since someone better than the fools who imitate magic has arrived, it will share an interesting fact, telling our protagonist that magic is the law designated to the world by the Archmage, and the magic of this world is a manifestation of one's true nature. And after a phrase comes a principle. What he manifests with the phrase must become uncontrolled according to the principle, and he must recite the name for it to be pure and absolute magic. Our hero has never heard of a principle, and the perverse says he wouldn't understand even if it explained everything. That's why it will teach him about principle, which is true magic in practice. Meanwhile, Seal Rang notices that her benefactor is taking too long, until the older brother finds her, easily knocking one of her henchmen to the ground. She asks how Kalman dares to do something immoral outside the Colosseum. He knew she annihilated the Bloody Sand and his younger brother too. He claims this is revenge for his family and charges at her. The girl pursues him, telling him not to touch her family while unleashing spells. They clash in combat as she wants to protect her family. He had already expected this, and she is filled with intense hatred for him. Because he had anticipated it, he orchestrates an ambush, and she takes a blow to the back. Ralga says her chief is too obvious and betrays her. Seal Rang has a strong attachment to her relatives, and didn't want to believe that Ralga would do such a thing. After all her family members always called her a great leader, and she was very happy because they were her family. As she lamented the days she lived with others from the Golden Manor tribe, she wanted to recreate those times after the orphanage. She desired revenge against the black dragon that destroyed everything in the past, wanting to find her relatives once more, and the king of the beastmen, the Golden Manor tribe. Their descendants have an attachment to their relatives. Unfortunately, this is not true for all of them, which is why Ralga stabbed her in the back. The older brother tells Ralga to stop stalling and eliminate her at once. She uses her gauntlet to deliver a powerful punch, unleashing lightning. Kalman says she's very good at running away, like a coward. However, he amplified his power several times with the abyssal entity to land that punch on her. The girl also lunges with a punch, and their two blows clash, and that's when Ralga comes in with a black abyssal blade to cut her down. The girl performs an acrobatic maneuver to evade his strike, and he wonders how long she can last, having an authority granted by the essence of the abyss as well. He attacks her repeatedly alongside Kalman, but the girl keeps dodging. She gains momentum from a rock and delivers a kick, with lightning crackling around it. An effective blow, yet Ralga takes little damage. However, Kalman is slammed against the wall and is slightly injured. Suddenly, her benefactor emerges from the cave, as if nothing is happening. Having received orders, he believes it's the perfect moment and charges at him, deciding to use him as a hostage before eliminating our protagonist. Ralga continues to confront Seol Rang, and they engage in agile combat. However, it's revealed that the blade used to stab her was poisoned, and the girl begins to lose control of her body. Horga asks if she truly believed the tribe had gathered to play make-believe with her. He explains it was because of the authority granted by the essence of the Golden Manor tribe and her possession of the gauntlet. Horga thought she was strong and was flaunting the absurd power of that gauntlet. Even though they only gathered in pursuit of power, the time they spent together was real for her. She felt they had become a family, just like in the past, while Horga thinks she's daydreaming and considers it pathetic, showing that everyone in the tribe had betrayed her and also hated her. It is said that the essence should belong to someone more worthy than her. As he moves to strike her with his black abyssal energy sword, someone intervenes. A blow is dealt to Kalman, and he collapses to the ground. The sword strike was delivered by Alan Palladio, leaving Horga in shock. Looking at our hero and seeing a bizarre energy, Alan realized there was a thread of dark magical power emanating from an abyssal entity. Abyssal entities appear in the middle of the original story within that black cube. Because of the strange description, there was much speculation surrounding this object. He notes that Sarung's guildmates betrayed her, realizing they are in the highest level healing position and will be able to move soon. He heals his friend and says that some did not betray her. He realized the guild had been a happy place until this moment. The girl is devastated by what happened, but she wipes away her tears and presses on. She continues to hold firm, for her family awaits her. She charges forward and attacks using the gauntlet while the protagonist charges his ice magic. With only one ice spell left, he casts it now, amplifying its form and creating a freezing maelstrom. Uterus notes that he knew the words but couldn't form the phrases, and that these words alter laws while phrases are a key that brings one closer to them. After losing the Great Legacy, they learned impossible abbreviations. Our hero uses the renown of a snowy mountain, an incredibly powerful spell. Finally, he uses the phrase Pen of the Blind to unleash this ice. In his mind, Uterus's voice speaks of the ice spear, its true name forgotten by foolish mags, and our hero calls it a halberd painted with ice crystals when casting the spell. The enormous ice crystals hurtle towards Kalman and Ralga. When Halga sees the attack coming, he knows he needs to defend. Our hero then wields the halberd painted with ice crystals, which flies towards the enemy. The blow is incredibly powerful, but Halga manages to perceive it in time. He takes the hit to the chest, however, and his Rang manages to deflect it. A massive ice barrier is created, leaving Evan surprised. A large ice shard that pierces the enemies is formed. All of them are impaled by the ice, and Halga utters his last words, stating that he must eliminate our protagonist, and he actually manages to break free. If he gains control of the essence, he can start all over again. Then he leaps onto our hero with the Sword of the Abyss. Our hero is run through and spits out some vital fluid, which enrages Seol and she kicks him. He wasn't even that hurt, and the combat was over. The knife only grazed him, and he only spat out the fluid because he had exhausted his mana. He didn't think it would be so exhausting as to cause internal damage. He remembers what Kalkin said about Chutru mentioning that his father found him a nuisance. He doesn't know what the man meant by that, and it's a relief that it's all over. When facing an opponent who has absorbed an entity from the abyss, he has to be careful. He remembers the third restriction that was used against a god who twisted the laws of the world, and he knows that when he faces a god, he becomes stronger. Our hero wonders if he should try to cheer Seol up first, and not sink into dark emotions. But in reality, he is sad that the master didn't dodge, and she blames herself for him suffering an attack. Our hero said she could block it, and believed in her. She asks why he saved her and got hurt in the process. He thinks it was a reflex, as he raised her like a daughter for years, stating that he doesn't need a reason to save his family. She says her only family was the tribe, but she states she wants to be part of Alan's family. It's like when an adoptive father doesn't receive recognition for years and is finally called father. He feels happy, and she says she was the golden manhwa and he a human. Then she says they can get married, which leaves both him and her in shock. 5 days later, news of Kalman's atrocities spreads throughout colony. Many were shocked by the coward Baba Yaga. Kalman and Sir Rang gain support to become the first Baba Yaga. She keeps asking to marry our protagonist, and he doesn't know what to do. He was even happy at first because she's cute. However, he said it was the 19th time she had asked, and he considers her only family. She said she would make her benefactor happy, and that they really should get married. Our hero, however, would already be very happy with sweet potatoes and a peaceful noble life, and doesn't want to deal with that. Our hero thinks she will give up if he doesn't respond. Then they say goodbye, and the guild changed to further align with his ideals. When all of Sul's relatives became furious and worried about Helga's betrayal, merely gathering her tribe wasn't happiness. Even in a life or death situation, her ideal family is one where they believe in each other. She starts to be more careful and wants to create a guard to protect her benefactor. Only then can they be a happy family forever. Evan tells him that the Information Guild has no suspects other than Helga's men. Our hero doesn't want anything to happen to her after raising the girl so well. He was advised to watch out for the other outer gods for what's to come. He only knows about deities and doesn't know if anything beyond that will happen. Many questions are accumulating, and he remembers what the shadow told him. The Wicked One told him that the search for the tower on the far east of the fortress in Carrara was recorded in the past. It was the first time he could read this tablet with knowledge. But just like in the game, the gods are mentioned metaphorically. Nothing else he knows connects with the things he is reading. He wonders why the outer gods are used in reverse. After all, they are the gods of people's faith or from other worlds. While the true gods refer to, there are the 5 cardinal sins. This stone tablet records the 5 cardinal sins as outer gods. This doesn't leave his mind, as it's very confusing. Furthermore, news arrives that Deus defeated the first sword Reinhard. Our hero didn't expect him to become so strong in half a year, and the boy has absurd talent. Meanwhile, Ren became a member of the 3 councils that decide Latania's policies, and Redan unified 5 archipelagos as the Pirate King. He has a bounty in the millions, just like the first Pirate King in history. He went from a Somali pirate to a Somali Pirate King, and Yusha is declaring war against another chief. After all, Seal announced at the meeting that he would marry the Great Moon, leaving everyone shocked and Yusha filled with extreme hatred. Yusha notices that her Rang is trying to exaggerate as always, while she insists she will marry him and be a great wife. Yusha says that's not possible, as they are all his shadows. She tries to argue against Yusha, who retorts by saying they will stay by his side and not marry him. Seo says that what the Great Moon thinks is more important. The white-haired girl retorts by saying he would never choose her. When she asked if the benefactor hated her, he said it wasn't quite like that. However, she is exaggerating now, as if she would marry him just because he said that. When she tells what really happened, Deus says he saw something magnificent a year ago, a calm demeanor, as if he had walked the path of hell many times. He couldn't assess his strength and doubted after feeling the enemy's magical power. Yet he defeated Taurus. Seo says he is admirable and will become stronger to become his wife. 2 hours later, the conversation continued at the meeting, and Deus tried to give an ultimatum. Then Yusha interrupted and said that the girl couldn't marry him. They kept fighting, and the Blue Moon semi-annual meeting had the following notes. The first is that Deus cannot be asked anything about the Great Moon. The second is that regarding Yusha and getting involved with the Great Moon, it was forbidden, as he would ultimately display childish behavior, which is new for Yusha. In the capital of the Asteria Kingdom, within a dark alley, a possible alliance to overthrow the Cal faction is proposed. The leader of the aristocratic faction, Marcus Phil Boyd, says that Alan's presence is disturbing. Then the leader of the realist faction, Duke Harrengrave, says they can take the Holy Rosary Kingdom using the Reform Letter, which is the center of religion and the Holy Rosary Kingdom itself. They can send letters across nations to anyone suspected of heresy. For it to be sent, several cardinals must support it, which gives this letter its power. It would be a ruthless pretext, and the demands are half of the cardinals' bribe. They agree and conclude the discussion with the cardinals. This plan will soon come to fruition. They will leave the remaining steps to the cardinals, and make a toast as the unified faction comes into being. Despite having 8 subordinates to the saint and the pope, they are very busy, and he believes this is only the second time they have met. He greets Cardinal Sergios, and would like to borrow his name for a reform letter to Count Palacio, saying it wouldn't be a bad proposal for the cardinal and could create a pretext for Alan's heresy. However, he is asking this of Cardinal Utia, who is none other than Alan Palacio's daughter. She maliciously asks if he wants to use her name to draft a reform letter and bury the count. In response, the priest says they will focus on Cardinal Viandra's suspicious death. In her position, she should understand, and he wants to keep the bribe for himself, able to use the money lavishly. However, he takes a blow from Utia and crashes to the ground, injured. She is enraged by his suggestion to eliminate the man she reveres most. As she begins to unleash her energy and magic to torture him, people around them sense it. She tells him that no one will come to save him, even if he screams. He is tortured, his body losing vital fluids, yet she does not stop. She wields her magic to torment him further. He screams for her to stop, but she doesn't. He kneels and begs for his life. He pleads for her to end him quickly, but she refuses. She declares that for trying to harm Alan, he will be punished. She begins to drain his soul, and we see several black tentacles erupting from her. She tells him he must acknowledge his sins to be forgiven. A month after returning from the desert, the preparations are almost complete. He began his preparations to attend the magic conference. As the leader of a faction and a county, he will investigate entities from the abyss and outer gods. He obtains a certificate attesting to his position as a faction leader and a legitimate salary. The amount far exceeded what he could have expected. Before the deposit, he was short on money, and now he wants to fulfill this role and earn even more. He has no idea how a faction is structured to earn so much money. The modern man's panacea is money, so he ended up selling himself. This is the true magic of capitalism in this era. At the Vrisham Marquisate conference venue, he heard that several renowned individuals would participate until he encounters Zenonia and Althea, the two who form the faction. He tells them he has been well. He embarked with the 2 underworld figures and, due to a misunderstanding, finds himself in a situation he didn't want. Evan tells him that the leader of the realist faction received a reform letter and went to the Holy Kingdom. Our hero is relieved, as he no longer wanted to see this man. Suddenly, an old man approaches our hero, trembling, saying he has lost something and needs his help. He reveres our hero and asks to be spared. Everyone is shocked as Phil Boyd, the leader of the aristocratic faction, bows his head to him. Unlike the underworld and the political sphere, everything is based on cause and justification. Bowing one's head before another is equivalent to offering up one's authority. Zenonia finds our hero incredible for having achieved this. Even now, he remains calm, as if he had foreseen all of this. A few days ago, this man received a mysterious letter. It bore a striking resemblance to a reform letter. The accompanying magic orb contained a 5-second message. It was the cardinal's voice, telling him he had to read the sacred letter and look at the moon. He was also screaming in pain and saying they had made a mistake, showing Duke Ringrave, who had received a reform letter himself. Then the orb shattered, and the letter stated that he was next. He only wanted to end the Count's political career and doesn't understand why this happened. Receiving a reform letter means the end of one's political life and safety should not be in danger, as he was not a heretic. However, Duke Ringrave, with no ties to heretics, suffered the consequences, making the Marquis believe that Alan is behind this and that the real problem is that he is the next target. He only wanted to live the rest of his life in peace, so he knelt before Alan, stating that he would abandon political life and let it end with just the reform letter. Our hero asks what kind of scheme the 2 girls had concocted, and if they were truly showing their real faces as the masterminds behind Asteria. In fact, they hadn't planned anything and thought the Count was the mastermind behind it all. And so, suspicions that Altea and Zenonia had placed Count Palacio as the leader of the Kalpa for their own interests were clarified. 3 days after the assembly began, he departed for the east, participating in the magic conference. They heard about the reform letter that Marquis Philboyd received and that he went to the Rosary. Our hero tells Evan that he didn't send that letter, and that day he said he would try to be tolerant and permissive. In reality, he just wanted to get out of that awkward situation as quickly as possible. They travel to Latanya, the city of labyrinths, which holds many possibilities for exploration, this being home to the 5 great guilds. He is famous there for having taken down 1,000 men by himself, and that the guild leaders are superhuman. The leader of the Ironblood Guild is Aldrich, and his guild wants to capture a monster on the 20th floor. They received a huge advance payment and are in a strange area. They think it will be a trap, but he has already explored over 50 floors and it will be easy to escape. They go to the 20th floor of the labyrinth and the girl points to a strange man, noticing it's a goblin from behind and that it's the weakest monster they could encounter. However, they notice his clothes seem to be from the east and he is a bit strange. This green-skinned, white-haired man says they are making too much noise. He makes a gesture with his finger and wipes them all out instantly. The faction leader is shocked and charges at him, unleashing a spinning aerial strike with his axe. However, with just the lift of a finger, the monster annihilates him. The arrogant king of the hungry spectres began his ascent towards the land, while our hero went to an extremely tall tower, larger than the Eiffel Tower, meeting a woman he hadn't seen in a long time. The conference schedule would begin the next day and he wanted to go to the library. Leon showed him the location, but our hero couldn't join her. She mentioned that the Green Magic Tower would present a new theory on friendly duels. An argument with the Vice Master of the Blue Tower occurred, leaving Leon somewhat sad. The Vice Master of the Blue Tower was overly arrogant and wouldn't stop arguing. She said that even if 20 rank 5 mags appeared, they wouldn't stand a chance against her. Then she looked at Leon and said she was a novice who had been crushed the previous year. However, when she saw our hero, her arrogance vanished and she bowed. Asteroid said it had been 6 months since she last saw Penha and asked how he was. She couldn't treat him informally and remained apprehensive the entire time she was beside him. The mags even thought they were seeing an illusion, as she was always arrogant. She said the mags should get along and Penha immediately apologized to all of them. She left and he realized things were getting worse every time he saw her. Leon said the crazy woman knew how to be polite when he was around. Our hero knew she was arrogant and had a temper, but he didn't consider her crazy. Then a knight appeared and asked if Leon had come to see him. The knight didn't recognize our hero and Leon introduced Count Palacio. Actually, the knight had already heard rumors and introduced himself as Baruch, son of the master of the Purple Tower. Our hero had never seen this man before in the game. He told Leon that she would still come to like him, and they said their goodbyes. Leon said he was a rank 4 mage who liked to steal others' research to humiliate them. Our hero thought he must be a genius to reach rank 4 at his age. Each rank made a huge difference. The higher it was, the more pronounced it became. She showed him the library, which was on the 38th floor, and they agreed to meet at the presentation the next day. Our hero went to the 38th floor and began looking for 2 things. First, to set the clock hands to 12 o'clock. Next, to retrieve the untitled black book. As he placed his hand on the cover, he found the Ring of Radiance. It was a hidden compartment, and he would finally retrieve this Ring of Radiance. The next day, after the presentation at the Friendly Duels venue, Baruch wanted to challenge Count Palladio, and he hadn't expected it. Our hero thought all of this was because of Leon. She felt sorry, as he kept hitting on her and talking about marriage. Baruch approached him and wanted to give tips about the great mage who helped defeat an outer god. In reality, he wanted more influence than just being the son of the Tower Master, mentioning his contribution to defeating an outer god and dealing with a Baba Yaga's ambush. He noticed that the Count's reputation among the mags had skyrocketed, but he thought it was all an exaggeration that failed to measure an opponent's true skill. However, he noticed by the ring that he was only a rank 3 individual. He was a mage who hid behind lies and pride, and Baruch would use him as a stepping stone to gain more influence. Saying it will be a friendly duel, our hero starts to get annoyed with him, so he accepts. They say people act according to appearances, but Baruch's personality is a complete disaster. In the duel, it is stated that lethal magic is forbidden, and the duel begins. Soon, Baruch uses his wand to cast a purple spell. He will destroy the enemy's reputation and reach the top. His feet grow heavy and are frozen by Alan's magic. Our hero begins to freeze the entire arena and uses the Ring of Radiance on his finger. The technique of the Glory of the Snowlands ended the duel in mere moments. The leader of the Green Magic Tower is shocked when Pania apologizes to his disciple. Amidst many absurd rumors about the Count, they wonder what kind of man he is, so the tower leader wants to see with his own eyes. His mana pool is small and he doesn't seem to have such a high rank. Knowledge is key in magic, and it's difficult to be born with low mana capacity. So, contrary to everyone's doubts and prejudices, our hero is stronger than that. They notice he perfectly executed a triple combination magic. Even at rank 5, the leader wouldn't be confident in such a manifestation. They wonder how he managed to do it, with the relic on his finger and another on his wrist. Through his magical artifacts, he uses the rotation technique in ice magic. Baruch begins to get trapped with little escape. They notice it's an elimination spell from the Violet Tower called K-Malin. The ice begins to explode in small concentrations, completely freezing Baruch's body. And the winner is Alan Palacio. They ask him how he organized this matrix. The leader of the Green Tower asks about a proprietary spell. He comments on catalysts based on ancient texts, and the protagonist notes their logic is archaic. It's quite shocking that he used a lost method. Our hero claims to be rank 3, and everyone finds him humble for it. Then he leaves and finds peace in the silence, realizing that the memory of the black eye he acquired from the book was very useful. It's an enhanced memorizer that stores the user's spells. When manifesting spells, the power is amplified. Also, when the magic is used in frozen lands, the glory of the snow-capped mountains is used to compensate for restrictions and consumes 3 of the 5 magic slots. However, when he uses the ring with a black box, it provides massive amplification. Thus, he uses all 5 slots as he pleases, and he finally understood the glory of the snow-capped mountains. It's a spell whose effect is to freeze the surrounding air at the moment of manifestation. He remembers the Wicked One speaking of the sentences for the keys that access the laws of magic, and that when he understands the sentence, it allows him to interfere with the laws themselves instead of just altering properties. Our hero used to use an enchantment merely as a mana enhancer. Now he will rest and prepare for the evening conference. On the 38th floor, he arrives on time and solves the enigma. He doesn't panic upon hearing that voice from beyond and manages to solve a great riddle. This is the one who inspired fear and adoration in the Reperturbo world. The assassin Eternal Terror, known as the Chalice of the Primordial, the first human to reach rank 8 since the era of Forgotten Gods. He is Archmage Hankel. One wrong move, and it would be the end for our protagonist. Players called Hankel the Retry Witch. To get the items, he would need to choose the correct dialogue options. If he chose incorrectly, he would die instantly. Moreover, if specific items were favored, she was called the Dirty Milk Witch for instantly eliminating players. Our hero felt the essential pressure radiating from her. He had already begun preparing his defenses until she saw something behind him, feeling a nefarious presence and seeing a red eye. Seeing her speechless, the protagonist thinks something was lost in translation. He isn't seeing things as he did in the game, and she is actually very short. She gets scared and hands him something. The girl disappears as quickly as possible, as if she were afraid of him. Our hero doesn't complain, as he got the gift very easily. The day after the friendly match, he attends the conference presentations. The protagonist thought studying with Lion was better than studying alone. He was familiar with magic control, and Lion had an exceptional magical arrangement, so it was very useful. However, she was always impressed that he was only rank 3. He thinks about starting to use rank 4 magic now that he is very advanced. On the 4th day, it is said that an outer god appeared in the Latanya labyrinth. This caused changes in the labyrinth, and the Information Guild estimates he appeared a week ago. Our hero asks Evan to send a letter for them to leave immediately. Penha is surprised that our hero is leaving so quickly. She asks him to have a good trip, and they leave. Although she went to say goodbye, she didn't seem that sad about his departure. Several days after leaving the strangely cheerful Penha behind, in the city of Latanya, of the labyrinths, they arrive by carriage. Evan heard that Heine is rising to the top very quickly. A universal truth is that anything is possible with money. He heard that magical tool appraisers had great influence. Although this is why he is at a loss, he wants to make a request to her. He said he has an urgent situation, and wants the girl to know that Count Palladio has arrived. The man gets annoyed, as many pushy clients arrive today claiming to be important, and says he will pay 3,000 gold coins if he wants to enter without an appointment. Our hero knows this is the price of an entire mansion, and says it will take 10 months to meet with Rhine. Then, Lievald Grayston, the son of the Lord of Latanya, appears. He hands over a bag of money to enter and speak with her, until Rhine appears, and says no one needs to enter the castle. She punches the daddy's boy who is bothering her. She says she was waiting for her godfather, and bows to Alan. Her employee notices that she is always impartial and polite, but now she even bows. She tells the pushy man to leave, who is trying to get close to her. He says he has deep ties with the 3 councils and that she will regret doing this. Our hero thinks he caused some kind of trouble for her, but the girl ignores it. They heard that the Lord spoils his son obsessively. She also received Alan's letter and notes that the girl is very reliable. Despite the earlier confusion, Rhine, and he caught up in good spirits. The other children call him a benefactor, and he is curious why she calls him godfather. She thought it was more appropriate. Alan knows that Rhine is like a daughter who grew up quickly and autonomously. He has a favor to ask her at this moment. He needs influence to go to a place, and wants to go to the Outer God Suppression Unit. He said if it's difficult because of what happened before, she doesn't have to. Rhine asks if her godfather is very worried about the Lord's son. In fact, he was worried that it might cause unnecessary problems for her. She said she would resolve the request and let him rest after the journey. Evan and Alan notice that she grew up following the rules strictly. Hearing that Rin will help him brings great relief. The real problem lies with the stubborn members of the suppression unit. Suddenly, the Count falls asleep and stops talking. The next day, he wakes up, and she says she has already resolved what he had asked for. She wants him to participate in the strategy meeting, and not to worry about Leveled and Greyston. Rhine says she gave him a clean elimination. Leveled was a parasite. Latanya would be better off without him, but he is shocked by his demise. In the game, in all of Latania's subquests, he was involved with live chimera experiments and massacres, but this is like eliminating someone from royalty. Rhine noticed he was uncomfortable, and eliminated him to end the discomfort, stating that he also doesn't need to worry about the three councils. She considers him even if she considers him a godfather, he thinks it's an exaggeration for her to do all this. After all, she is a variable at the moment, and wonders how she fought against the mercenaries. He asks if it will be a problem, as her attitude was a bit inappropriate. Our hero notices she's a bit sad, and she made sure there were no loose ends for him. He understands this means they have different ways of thinking. Our hero realizes she isn't sad about what she did. She's just embarrassed to be in front of her godfather. He asks her not to do anything that would threaten his current life. She then understands this is her duty, and doesn't see it as a problem. She tells our hero she'd like to show him the Lurker's Eye while he's there. She has been collecting marks without issue using the Lurker's Eye. Our hero knows this increases the power of artifacts with a black mark. It was a normal support artifact that shouldn't have any other function. It evaluates items below a certain mana threshold. The place's fame is because of this, and that's why she was being nice to him. After 400, the collection speed decreases, and she'll only be able to finish collecting in years. Our hero doesn't know exactly what she's collecting, and she says she's finished giving him the report. They go to the meeting room, and he meets with the Outer Deso Suppression Unit. He meets the leader of the fourth of the great guilds of ancient trackers. Mayan thinks the rumors are exaggerated, and dislikes our protagonist immediately. Maverick, who is the leader of the third of the 5 great guilds, is the leader of the Earth Nomad. We see Reman, the leader of the second of the 5. He is the leader of the Arcadia Guild, and Agonia, who is the leader of the Calamandra Guild, is the first of the 5 great guilds. Our hero knows they are mercenaries who prioritize strength above all else, and are very hostile. He will have to earn their recognition at this moment. Our hero uses freezing cold, and there are 2 reasons for participating in the suppression unit. First, to gather and freeze, and the reason for this is that an outer god cannot be suppressed with conventional force. And second, he needs strong mercenaries who will follow his plan. So he showed off a bit using a combination of spells and phrases. The leaders of the 5 great guilds misinterpret this, and think the noble wants to fight them. Our hero says they ask for this, but they think he's overstepping. They point their swords at him, and our hero thinks he made some kind of blunder. He undoes the spells and provoke them for a reason. The current situation reflected a special quest from the original game, and always followed the same flow of events. In the end, if Agonia recognizes him, they won't have to fight. He finishes, and Agonia recognizes our hero, telling them to stop, and she says they underestimated him first. Our hero asks when they plan to descend into the labyrinth. Agonia says it will be in 2 days, and they will continue the meeting tomorrow because of the commotion. Our hero leaves, very frightened by the threats he received, affirming to himself that he will never do something so risky again. The blonde asks why Agonia let the arrogant noble leave. Another of them says Agonia saved the man's life. She doesn't quite understand, but if the attack had landed, Maverick would have died. A voice tells her daughter that when the black eye reveals itself in the night sky, never acknowledge it, and if possible, she must rip out his memories. A great dragon told this to Agonia, his daughter, instructing her to keep it in mind for some day. She is sure that this is what her mother warned her about hundreds of years ago. She wonders who exactly that human is, as she saw a very strange eye behind him. The next day, he was worried about how the meeting would go. They decide to follow the Count's plan without any complaints, making it a pleasant meeting that ends in unanimous decisions. Hainan, however, does nothing, and Mion remains quiet. He thinks his plan to use his game knowledge turned out to be very useful. They finish their preparations and begin descending into the labyrinth to get rid of the monsters. Looking closely, our hero certainly wouldn't have come there alone. Meow asks if our hero doesn't like beast men. The Count said no and demonstrated discrimination. She asks if he doesn't want to make a feline baby with her. She said they had come to understand what they needed to know about each other. Our hero is shocked, as she said something very absurd, but she is a useful member of the team. She claims to know how strong he is, and the cat tribe values strength above all else. However, he refuses to make a feline child with her. Rena says that was a very vulgar thing to say to her godfather and offers to silence her. He said there's no need, as a beastman's way of thinking is different. On the second day in the labyrinth, they continue their battles until they find a dead end and start to get stressed. Our hero thinks they are taking too long, as they are still only on the 4th floor. In the game, you can continue as long as you meet the conditions. The 31st floor is completed by subduing a boss. They have already spent half a day looking for the entrance so far. He wonders how this place came to be, as it is enormous. Agonia creates a portal and tells them to continue to the 5th floor. Everyone enters and arrives in an outdoor area. Every 5th floor leads to a safe location. In the game, this was an extremely smooth save point. After maintenance, they will make preparations, and the outer god was sighted on the 12th, so they have time until they get there, and Maverick asks what's so funny about a man panting. After walking for a while, they are suddenly attacked. That goblin who eliminated the hunting party before reappears. They are shocked as this man wipes out several group members with a single move. He asks who is using the gaze in his eyes without permission. Then, moving his finger, he unleashes a cutting magic. Our hero shields Maverick with his ice magic, tells him to pull himself together, and tries to freeze the enemy. This villain recognizes that Alan is doing something very interesting. Our protagonist recognizes Callus, as he had seen him in the RPG game. He was insignificant, but he sought knowledge and broke the laws. He reached the divinity class on his own, becoming the king of hungry demons. When Alan recognizes him and calls his name, the demon reacts more cheerfully. According to the report, he should have arrived there in 3 days. Callus claims to be in a good mood, and will show mercy to everyone around him. However, he tells them to leave, and they will live. Our hero tells everyone to prepare for a difficult fight. Things are different from how they were with Terubu's, with the mercenaries well prepared, and his incarnation state hasn't progressed that much. Callus says that if they are going to drink poison, he will join them all, descending and attacking with his absurd cutting magic. The blow begins to destroy everything, but the mercenaries emerge alive and charge at him. He notices that one of them uses a sword of dissipation, which is quite intriguing. The magic works on outer gods who have not become incarnate divinities, noticing that they have the correct preparation and continue attacking him. However, Callus dodges while they eliminate the goblins from the area. Time is crucial, and they must end this as quickly as possible to get out alive. Our hero uses the ice, the form, and the renown of the Misty Mountain, but this time he uses the Pen of the Blind, firing a large, powerful ice stake from his finger. Rhine uses an enchantment through her book, and iron chains emerge from portals. The chains try to pierce Callus, but he manages to dodge. Our hero uses the halberd painted with ice crystals, which goes straight for the demon. Alan knows he will die if the attack hits him. However, Callus makes an X sign with his fingers, and cancels his attack. The monster says he received the attack and calls our hero an insect. Alan is utterly shocked to see the halberd painted with ice crystal severed. The villain says the human knows nothing and will be brought down to his level. Although imperfect in his current state, it will be fun. He uses a spell with the word release, then tremble, and black tentacles begin to surge towards the mercenaries. Finally, he uses expand, which makes this magic grow in size, eliminating some humans in the area. Finally, he uses the unknown principle, emitting an enormous flash that carves a crater into the ground. The mercenaries wonder what just happened, and he unleashes another cut with his finger. They cannot dodge the attacks coming from above. Mion will try to save one of his friends. He has high expectations for how Alan will entertain him. Our hero didn't know Callus could use phases and chance, and he is shocked, realizing a vast difference not only in abilities, but also in information and battle plans. They are losing in every sense, especially in power. All he can do is use the renown of a Misty Mountain, unleashing his magic to its maximum potential. He uses the phrase of resolution and the ring on his finger. Finally, he uses the phrase revolution, and the magic expands, forming a ring of ice. He is using it at high speed and in exorbitant numbers. He realizes it's helping, working, and asks Rhine for help, as if belittling their determination. Our hero gets angry at this, as if it were a cat playing with a mouse. He watched the amusement as they grew desperate. Our hero couldn't stop thinking about defending himself from his invisible slashing attacks. Expending a lot of magic, even his hands became frozen. He uses 5 mana potions, and the side effects appear. When Callus approaches, he tells Rhine to act with her chains. She performs another enchantment using a book and the portals. Our hero uses the Pen of the Blind again and all its phrases, reducing one of the penalties, as he could gain the ability to twist the laws of the world with another restriction. But he cannot do this lightly, as he begins to feel the side effects. He remembers the Wicked One telling him to find a way to extract all of this, and he uses his last resort. The Wicked One said that when it came to magic of this world, after the phrase came the principle. Finally, the manifestation of one's true nature and everything our hero had experienced. He wondered what could surpass the principle. He looked for a clue and found the answer in a mark. Realization and illusion come from the same root. When he achieves this, he will receive the key. This is the voice from beyond, belonging to someone unknown at the moment. When he does exactly what the voice commanded and finds his essence, Callias is shocked, finding it very unsettling, and unleashes another invisible slashing attack, severing Rayna's chains until our hero places his hand on her arm, taking a deep cut to his own arm that wounds him severely. As soon as Badazri's sign is complete, what was once a spear transforms into a key. We see the large ice crystal turning into a key, and it fixes itself into the crystals and turns. Thus, he uses the ice crystal painted halberd, placing his hand under his finger with the magical artifact. The key begins to turn, creating a gigantic ice magic. The glacier reaches the level of the plains, so high and massive it is. Magic is a law of the world decided by mags. Following the will of an architect, like the law of the pen, is an unnatural alteration of these laws. Our hero sees the great glacier he created and believes this is self-expression. However, Callias manages to shatter this mountain of ice he created. It's a level of magic that should have been unavailable to him. He achieved his goal. Callias was struck, and his body became weak and completely frozen. If he had manifested properly, he could have very easily blocked his expression. Our hero says that hypothesis makes no sense, and Callias agrees, stating he lost, and begins to be destroyed in the air. Our hero falls, extremely weak after using everything he had within him. Rayna begins to say he's okay, and tries to heal him somehow. His head is hurting too much, and he gets up, but there's no one in the room. He is at the suppression units camp, and cannot gather the strength to stand. Nerve paralysis isn't so bad as it's curable. Abusing mana potions and suffering from mana poisoning results in this. He permanently loses his mana flow, or suffers from its sclerosis, but he is grateful to be alive, and Rayna's happy her godfather has woken up. He was unconscious for a day, and is still disoriented due to mana poisoning. She told him that Mion is recovering quickly after the cuts. Agonia barely made it out alive because of it, but surviving the attack made her wonder if she's half dragon. She asks her godfather why he saved her, if her life is worth so much that he would risk failure to save her. Our hero starts to feel a lot of pain, and hides it. She asked why. She said it was useless, and that he had to put himself in danger to save her from Callias' blow. Even if there's value in completing the Lurker's Eye, she finds it inefficient. Our hero said he didn't take in the children to use them. Our hero realizes that all the children think they were taken in to be used by him, as if he were destined to be a villain. But in reality, he considers everyone part of his family. It's natural to save her, just as the girl saved him before, being a relationship that isn't one-sided, nor based on profit and exploitation. She thought she was a tool he created to deal with the black pests. She finally understands Alan Palladio's consideration for the children, and is happy. 5 days after that, he had recovered enough to move a little. Asking if Agonia could move, she said very little. Then they managed to get out of the labyrinth after 3 more days. When they return, Evan asks how they got so injured, getting angry at his master for not accompanying him, and for him returning full of injuries. He had trusted that the guild leaders and he would be fine, and everyone returned very wounded. If Evan, who had no relation to this event in the game, had come, it would probably cause problems for the plan. When the praises for the suppression unit spread throughout the region, it was time for them to leave Murder. They left by carriage, and Rhine asks when our hero's birthday is. She remembers the date so she can give him a gift in the future. Our hero tells Evan that he's not that excited because he already receives many gifts, but Evan says it will be different with the children celebrating with him. He thinks she might send a small artifact to our hero. Rhine is very happy to have a family, given that the Great Moon is a fundamental being for them. Their faith and irreverence are evident. Our hero believed that his victory would be just something natural. However, he recognized that he could get closer to what had been just another word for him, which is the word family, and the word godfather became not only a symbol of respect, but a description of their relationship. She knows that if her godfather needs her, she will act immediately. She begins to plan a birthday gift for the man who recognized her as a member of his family. For her first gift, the Lord's castle will suffice in her view. As summer passed through the palace territory, winter arrived. He recovered from the poisoning symptoms and caught up on the piles of territorial work. Evan says a package arrived from the Altia estate and a communication crystal. The girl contacts him to say they will make a report for him. This is Duke Altia, and he is now the faction leader and won't get used to a duke bowing to account. She tells how the Cal faction has been operating and handled the matters he requested. As of yesterday, the underworld of the Asteria kingdom is under their faction's control. She congratulates our hero after he said they should clean up the underworld first. He said that without much thought, and things became reality. The underworld has countless organizations and was almost impossible to control. That's why he said something without much pretension. She said it was much easier because he had overthrown the leaders of the royalist and aristocratic factions. Our hero thought it was them, not him, but it was the other way around. She asks if the next step is to overthrow the king. Our hero asks them to keep things as they are, and they conclude the report and the meeting. He went from a master of shadows to the ruler of the underworld in the blink of an eye. An invitation to the royal ball arrives for Alan Palladio. His Majesty the King himself orders that the news be sent to him and that he be invited to the ball. All our hero wanted was a carefree noble life. Not this anymore. Someone goes to the 5th floor of the labyrinth and didn't expect our hero to get so far, finding it very interesting and wondering if he'll endure next time. Meanwhile, he wondered why the Queen had summoned him and knew it was because of the Call faction. Asteria's 8th monarch, Kyan Cretinia, is the bearer of the Golden Archives, an ability passed down through the royal lineage. She possesses the ability to inherit information like game data, allowing her to pass her strength to the next generation. The existence of this ability is a powerful symbol of royal authority. When the 5 cardinal sins appear in Asteria in the game, she briefly joins the player's team and demonstrates incredible power. And now this queen will take action because of underworld dealings. Kyan was popular, and the community made memes of her being a guardian dragon. Our hero optimistically thinks this could be good, and that this incident might end up diminishing the Call faction's power. If he doesn't anger the queen and has an excuse to stay on good terms with the faction, this could be good. He's basically an observer and a spectator, so I think everything will be fine. He doesn't think they are challenging the royalty's authority. We see a bandit placing his foot on the man wearing an eye mask, realizing he had died after they were asked to finish him off in the palace. Then the purple-haired man orders them to quickly eliminate the man he requested and threatens to call the assassin's boss. Baldy will confirm the situation and will become a scapegoat at this rate. He notices an anti-decomposition spell serving as a warning, which is an absurd threat. He knows the assassin's boss will freak out if he learns they lost their 100% success rate. The rumors that Count Alan is skilled are not lies. Baldy decides to ask someone who understands the matter and goes to Caliburn. He arrives behind a man who notices his presence, and Baldy realizes he should have erased his tracks. Then he appears with his scythe poised to strike down the man, demanding information about Count Palacio. Even though he is his benefactor, with his life at risk, it's inevitable that he won't help him. As he moves to threaten God Michaelion, a wire appears around his neck. He looks up and notices people trapped in spiderwebs. They are evil, cursed spirits. God Michaelion notices that this bald man is also one of these agents of evil. Soon, the wires begin to bind him, preventing him from attacking God. He is severely wounded, and Michaelion is the man controlling these wires. Meanwhile, our hero attends the meetings and hears many absurdities. Ezio wanting to marry him, and other discussions taking place. They notice that Renee is trying hard to calm Seorang, which is very unusual. So Renee's would like to make a proposal to Yucha. They also want to send report letters about the lurking eye. She wants to report this personally, and Yucha asks if she is doing a bad job. However, Renee's would like to convey this personally to our hero, as well as reports about her, and suddenly they notice she is smiling a lot. God Michaelion returns, stained with vital fluids, and apologizes for the delay. Before they begin the meeting, he has an urgent matter to discuss with them, saying that an organization known as the Agents has targeted the Great Moon. There are 15 in total, and he has already dealt with 3, leaving 12 members. He has already located several, and all the boys want to eliminate them. They plan to find out how strong they are before acting, gathering more information to devise a better plan. Everyone disagrees with Hadam, thinking he is a traitor for wanting to make a plan before simply attacking the agents. He wants to understand the situation first, before simply eliminating the agents. Being heavily judged, he says he is wrong, and tells them to act first. Yusha resumes the meeting before they deal with this situation. Hadam finds it absurd to be called a traitor, as he would never do such a thing. After all, he received the opportunity to gain power and revenge, and his loyalty is unwavering. However, he thinks everyone is too fanatical and devoted to the Great Moon. Back in the capital of Asteria, at the royal castle, our hero arrives and ascends the stairs. The leader of the cow faction is so influential that all the nobles follow him. He is no longer an outcast as he was in the past, but he doesn't find this much better, as he hates being followed, because it seems he will lead a direct attack on the queen, which is why they follow him like this. But if everyone gets scolded together, his plan will be more effective. So he enters with his horde of nobles following him. He finds the royal palace an incredible place, and notices that the aristocratic and royalist factions are obvious. They came along because they think the chaos faction will get scolded by the queen. All he will do is listen to the scolding and bow his head if that happens. He arrives and greets the great ruler who leads Asteria. The queen of Asteria, Ciancretinia, asks if he is Count Palladio. The factions he defeated begin to get excited about the scolding he is about to receive. Then she grants him the title of Marquis at this moment.